You're listening to episode 613 of the Father Bills podcast. Welcome back. This week's episode is entitled Get Out of Your Boat, given on the 19th Sunday in Ordinary Time, 2017. Some of you might remember the story about my dog's competency in swimming. Is this familiar to some of you? Well, by way of reminder, I'll share it briefly again. I was with a friend, Father Don Gutman, and to be clear, Benny was on his kayak, not my kayak. And Benny was still new to me. My dog Benny then slipped right off the edge of the kayak and into the water. Now, what would a normal dog do? Start paddling, right? But not Benny. Benny just sat there, looked straight up as he sank into the depths. I'm there right next to him, like going, ah! So we both reached down to try to grab him and pull him out. He didn't take in any water. He was just kind of like, whatever. So it's clear that, dogs can't walk on water, but I sure wish that mine could swim. So today I put a life vest on him when he's on the kayak, and he does sometimes slip off the kayak. And the vest actually has a little handle on it, so I can just grab him and put him back on there. And he can swim, he's just not very strong at it. We don't have all the same gifts. Well, life is like that. It's an adventure with God calling us out of our boats and out of our comfort zones so that we can walk on water, or at least walk in faith, knowing that Jesus will catch us when we fall. It is important to know that being called by Jesus isn't a solo thing. It's not just me and Jesus only. See, we will also have other people to help us when we fall. And if it isn't a friend or family member, if it isn't a church or a group that you belong to, know this: it will be God who will always accompany you. Now, Peter got out of his boat and was doing pretty good until he lost faith, until he was distracted and got afraid. He was probably looking around going, this isn't normal, right? I think that's what I'd be saying to myself. And then start analyzing and thinking about it, and of course the consequences is lack of faith, the doubt. He started doubting and was in fear, and consequently going into the water. What did Jesus do? He reached out to him, and it says he caught him. He didn't just drag you out of the water. He literally, he was falling into the water. So what was going on for Peter must have been pretty dramatic. But this is important for us, to know that Jesus will always accompany us. He will never let us down. Peter started out well. So do we. But we sin. And that's not going to deter Jesus. He's going to be there when we turn to him. And in fact, he's waiting for us at every moment when we are messing up our lives. That one moment that we turn back to him. I just wish that we could have the bigger picture in mind all the time. It's so hard to do because we get worked up about our things that are going on. We can fear, and we start to doubt. Coming up for me is a vacation. I'm heading out to Central Oregon with 1 million other people. And it's probably not even figurative either. That's the crazy part. So I'm kind of concerned that I'm going to run out of gas. I'm concerned there's going to be a jam-packed, like Pineville, as beautiful as it is, can't handle 35,000 people going through it all at once. That's why I'm going a week early. But anyhow, that's a whole other story. The eclipse is coming, and that's causing a lot of excitement. For some people, it's causing fear. The only fear I have is a traffic jam. Just trust the sun is not doing anything different than it normally does. We get solar eclipses every year practically. It just doesn't go straight through town. It doesn't always just go straight through the United States like it's going. But see, life is like being in a boat. And I love this analogy. If you take it metaphorically, we can look at it and say, well, we need to get out of our boat like Peter did. That person just jumped out. Now, that doesn't mean we need to take risks that are going to kill us. Please don't do that. But we need to take leaps of faith. And I think as we get older, we might be challenged to do that because we prefer staying in the boat, and we would rather be a boat potato. And men, wouldn't you love it if that boat had a remote control, right? Newsflash, it doesn't. Well, unless you're in a yacht or a big, cruise liner, right? Well, today we have two special people. Moses, hi Moses, and Mabreen. Hi Mabreen. There they are. They're going to take one of those leaps of faith. Today, they're getting married in our midst. Today, they're choosing to get out of their own individual lives and commit themselves together with Christ in a partnership for life. They will promise to be faithful to each other through good and bad, through sickness and health. They promise to be faithful to each other. They will promise to do this all their life. Now, but remember, they don't do this alone. They do have two witnesses. That's part of the sacrament. But this is a sacrament called matrimony. And all sacraments have Jesus in it. Somehow, Jesus is present. So, two people are getting married, but a third person comes along. It is Jesus who binds their love and raises it to a divine institution. An institution, by the way, that was created from the very beginning of time. A natural institution that we didn't make up. And by the way, and we can't redefine either, just so you know. They are going to be a model for us today. But Jesus is to be your model and your guide all your lives. You have sacrificed much to get to this day. Do you know what that means? I know some of it. This is your wedding day. And while you are a stranger to many people here today, you are part of our community. And doesn't it give you joy to think, wow, we're going to have a wedding in the middle of this Mass? That's awesome. So we don't always have to know ourselves as a community, everybody, very intimately. We can know each other through special moments. You will no longer be anonymous in our church, at least not with the 5 o'clock Mass group, because we're going to see you here. And we're always going to remember this. When we see you, that's what's going to come back. And that is a very good thing for us. It's a challenge to us. This is a radical thing to do, to make a commitment for life. Your commitment is very much like mine too, though it's not a wife that I have. I take a celibate life as service. That's what ministry is, a service to the people. In your case, it's a specific service to an individual that is your spouse. And that service is modeled by Jesus. The service that is sacrifice. A service that is not taking into account my things, but only your things. It's tough. It is a crucible. But when I see it as a celibate priest, it gives me great joy. I don't sit there and go, oh man, I wish I was, that guy, because golly, none of that. I am joyful for them. And their commitment that they make encourages me. We ask, how can we encourage the priestly life? Believe it or not, good marriages and weddings that are faith-filled. One of the struggles, it's not against weddings at all. They're beautiful. Sometimes weddings become too much pomp and circumstance that the bride and the groom are so nervous they forget what they're doing. They may take videos even, but they don't remember the events. See, knowing that as a seminarian, when I was about to be ordained myself, I told the diocese, because they said, what readings would you want? What kind of music? I said, it was me and a guy named Bishop Peter now, some other, and then a couple other guys. And we all said, we don't care. You just choose it. Do whatever's liturgically appropriate. We want to be completely there. We want to listen and watch and hear so that we remember this moment. Guess what? They didn't get to choose their readings today. They didn't choose their music today. You might think, oh, that's horrible, right? No. This is focused on one thing. So we priests, we kind of like this because it reminds us of what's the most important. Your vows. The moment you take your vows, you are the ministers of the sacrament and you are married. If a meteor hits this building after that, till death do you part was pretty darn quick. But you are married up until that moment. Yeah. I want to lift you up. I want to thank you for choosing rightly ordered love. a love that God has created that man has not. It's unfolding within us. And so, as I said before, there's many challenges. There's challenges in marriage, but for all of us, there's challenges in faith where we have expectations of God speaking in certain ways. We have a need, and we need God to tell us in either an audible voice or a lightning bolt or an earthquake. Well, Elijah didn't have any of those things. He heard things and saw things. But what was his experience of God? It was in this small, still voice. And I'm only going to give you one piece of advice because, we've gone through marriage prep already. And this is for everybody as well that's married. Pray together. Pray together. It's intimate communion with each other. It's intimate communion with God. God is love. And if we intimately come together in prayer as husband and wife, how much stronger your love will be. How your prayer will rise above whatever arguments you're involved in. How great your love will be because it will be formed in imitation of Jesus more than what do I want to do. Thank you, Moses and Mabreen, for sharing your wedding with the community. It's not a private thing. There's no such thing as a private wedding. Here we are today. May each of us then be attentive to the still small voices, the one voice ultimately that is God, speaking to each one of us. May we move away from all those things that distract us so that we can truly listen. It takes practice of quieting down and listening. I took 7 years to try to, as a seminarian, to learn it. And I found that my greatest prayer time is just silent listening. When we do this, and when you do this, when the storms of your life comes your way, and it will. Happy, forever is a nice idea, but there's going to be struggles. You'll know this because you've practiced the relationship between each other with Jesus, that when the struggles come, when the storms of life come, you will have confidence in Christ's presence in your lives.
Thank you again for listening to this episode of the Father Bales podcast. Well, the solar eclipse, or what's called the Great American Eclipse, is coming, and that is on the 21st of this month. And I don't know where you will be, but I will be at the Oregon Star Party, and the path of totality goes right over our area. This will be an awesome experience, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I know, probably for me. And I would encourage you, wherever you might be, to partake in this. If it's not totality, that's okay. A partial solar eclipse is amazing, but don't look at the sun directly without any kind of solar glasses or special filtered glasses. And I'm not talking just anything. Like, we're not talking sunglasses. We're talking special solar glasses. And you can go to probably your major department stores and get some. They're usually cardboard with a special filter on them, and they're about $2 typically. I'm giving some away at our parish just to encourage people, because we as Catholic Christians recognize the sky, it is something beautiful to behold, and all of the creation proclaims the greatness of the God, and we need to be thinking about these things and pondering on these things and allowing them to inspire us. So I want to encourage you. Also, I did write a blog post about this on my website, fatherbill.org. So if you want to learn more about why we Catholics are so jazzed about science and faith, and particularly astronomy, go there. I'm biased. I'm part of the Vatican Observatory Foundation, and I think astronomy is an amazing discovery, a science of discovery of how God has created the world, and just awe-inspiring. And that's why every year I go to the Oregon Star Party, take my telescope and look through the look into the heavens, and just gander and ponder on all these galaxies and all these amazing things, most of which are so far away we'll never ever be able to visit them, but amazing what information we can glean from them just by looking at the light. Myself, I'm very much inspired, and I hope you are too. Well, because of this Oregon Star Party, I will not have an episode next week because I will be away on that weekend. So I just want to encourage you to know that, and so don't expect an episode until 2 weeks from now. And until then, may God bless you, and have a great 2 weeks. Bye-bye.